Ladies and gentlemen, right here we have the new heavyweight champion of the world. That's right, the heavyweight champion, the unknown alcoholic. That's right. What is that, unknown alcoholic? Do you need fuel for your fire? I say we fuel his fire. What do you say, folks? More fuel for the fire. My God, is he going to Tommy here? I believe he is going to go with Tommy. Yes! Oh, more fuel for my champion. Yes! Yes, drink more fuel, champ. Be my champion. Yes! My only champion, the only champion we need is the unknown alcoholic. Right here, right now. Oh, here we go. More fuel, you say? Yes, more fuel for the unknown alcoholic. Here we go. Let's see what he can do. Cheer him on, folks. Let's give him up. Unknown alcoholic! Unknown alcoholic! Unknown! We know what to do! Because when you're going for a champion, you gotta have a champion that'll drink his brew! That's right, unknown alcoholic! Just 2 more! And that's it! The World Championship belt will be yours! There! So take another sip! Oh, here we go, folks. The unknown alcoholic. What? Did you think that I was gonna let the unknown alcoholic take my belt? Oh no! Oh no! That's not how this works.
Hello everybody, it's me, Nate, aka Devil Dog, and I'm here with a high-flying, limo-riding, bone-crunching, Super SmackDown review of WWE 2K22. That's right, they took a couple years off on this one to fix the glitches of the last one, and it does actually show. Once again, this game was developed by Visual Concepts and published by 2K Sports. Now, as for the release of this title, this is one thing I'm not a huge fan of, but I'm going to talk about. Depending on which version game you buy, you get it at a different time. If you fork out the extra cash to get the NWO for Life edition or the Deluxe edition, you can receive the game on March 8th of 2022. But if you just get the standard version, you have to wait until March 11th, 2022 for it. I'm never a fan of doing that, giving extra, push to you paying more money for basically the same game with just like 5 more characters added. Now, this game releases for just about every gaming system except for Nintendo Switch, and like I said, they took off extra time on this to focus on making a better experience, having a whole new game engine and also different modes added as well, and really polishing it in terms of the graphics and the control. Now, first of all, let's get into the different modes. First up, let's talk about career mode. Well, now it's known as My Rise mode, and it basically has stories set for both male and female created wrestlers as you go through all kinds of different plots, subplots, meet new enemies, team up with new allies, and have a lot of really cool stuff that happens through it. Next up is a mode known as the 2K Showcase, which is what this whole game is centered upon, where it's a playthrough where you play through very famous moments of Rey Mysterio's career, and by doing this you can unlock different wrestlers, characters, arenas, and attires. And as a huge wrestling fan, I did notice there are certain parts to Rey Mysterio's career that aren't in here, there, but nothing that's a detriment at all. It's still really, really fun to play through these moments as Rey Mysterio and relive them again. And honestly, with the overall graphic fidelity of this, it really does help a lot. Next up is My Faction mode. My Faction mode is new this time, and it's where you get to build stables and manage and upgrade your superstars. You get pretty much a lot of content here. Next up is the Universe mode. This once again returns and is a fan favorite, where you get to control superstars and which brand they want to be. You can assign different title belts or create them yourself. And imagine, like, if you remember playing the Road to WrestleMania, it's kind of like that, and it has two different modes. It's got Superstar mode and Classic mode. Superstar mode, once you play as a superstar, it's almost like a season mode. You're forced to go through and do exactly what they want you to do, while you have a lot more versatility and more deep stuff that you can do with Classic mode. And the only thing I noticed with this is, while it still has a lot of cool cutscenes after the match and during times, there's no promos. You can't cut promos like you used to be able to do in some of the other versions. That's not really a major issue, but it is something I had to point out. Next up is My GM mode. Basically, it's the GM mode where you get to pick one of 5 main characters, and or you could even use a creative player and control one of the 4 different WWE brands. You do everything from drafting different superstars, booking the shows, managing contracts, setting up location venues, and even go down to controlling costs. So if you're really into the deep management modes, this one will be right up your alley. It's pretty deep, and actually it's pretty darn good. And of course, one of the number one highlights of every single wrestling game, especially the WWE, is the creator wrestler. And I can say it comes back and it knocks it out of the park. The different options are phenomenal in terms of all the different variations and stuff where you can create your own wrestler. And the neat thing about this is all creations are now cross-platform, so you can actually get a lot more stuff from different platforms, which I think is fantastic. And you can also use custom images for your faces. So if you want to put your ugly mug into the game as a wrestler, you actually can now. There is tons of choices in this, everything from your multiple different entrances, your move sets, your victory poses, and it starts off with 4 different starting classes. You have your striker, your technician, your high flyer, and your powerhouse. And you can combine these with different sized wrestlers. So if you want to have a high flying heavyweight, you actually can do that. And it even dives deep into the fact with the different personas and everything else. Hands down, this has always been my personal favorite part of these wrestling games. Even it's my girlfriend's favorite part. She absolutely loves creating wrestlers. And hands down, I think she'll be happy when she gets to make Blue Blitz once again on here. Now, the main thing about this for them taking the time off was to fix the game engine and really polish it to where there weren't that many bugs. There's still a couple bugs here and there, which you'll iron out down the road with patches, but it plays phenomenally better than the last game that we got a couple years back. And one of the main reasons why is they really went and streamlined the controls. The last game changed up the controls and just made it super messy and archaic to actually control your wrestler. And in this one, I can fortunately say it's so much easier and funner and more intuitive and just seems to play a lot faster than the other game just because of the way it is. Naturally, they have a big, robust training mode that you can go through where they'll teach you the ropes, no pun intended, on how to control and play and do all your moves of your wrestler. But with the simplified controls, makes it a lot easier to play. You have your light strikes, your heavy strikes, your grapples, and then they add a lot of other stuff to it to make it to where you can do a lot of reversals. You have your blocks, your reversals, and dodges that you can do as well. And, all those seem to be a little bit different on the button configuration. The only real thing I noticed that is about the same seems to be the taunts. The taunts are still placed on your little up, down, left, right, plus pad. But other than that, it's a lot more simplified and a lot more intuitive, like I said, and a lot user-friendly. I was able to pick it up and do a bunch of moves a lot easier than in the previous game. And honestly, the only thing I would have to say is I think doing the dodges and reversals are a little too easy, so you can keep doing them so much to where it's like unlimited, to where you can just keep countering a counter of a counter of a counter, and you can make the flow of the match actually change up quite a bit to where you never know when you might have that chance of coming back even from the brink of being destroyed and getting that 3 count. So that's pretty good. Now, for the overall size of this game, I'm actually quite impressed with the overall roster as well. There are 163 characters across the Raw and SmackDown rosters, and you get 5 more if you buy the NWO version. Gee, I can't imagine who they are. But honestly, it's not a bad roster, but there are a couple things I have to point out that's kind of odd. There are certain wrestlers that are in this roster that I don't know why they're here, and other wrestlers that are missing. And like I said, they're planning tons of DLC characters down the pipeline. You already know they're going to do that. So it's not like if there ain't one of your favorite wrestlers isn't on here, that there might be a chance of them coming down the pipeline as a DLC character. But honestly, the amount of wrestlers in this, for me, I don't have a problem with it. They have a lot of classic old school wrestlers. They have the modern wrestlers. But, due to the fact of how long it takes to make these games, naturally you're going to have some wrestlers that don't even work for the company anymore. And some of them that are on here are really odd, like Jake the Snake Roberts. That kind of throws me for a loop because isn't he in AEW right now? So maybe he's still got some long-term deal with WWE or something. But like I said, there's a lot of wrestlers in here that honestly, I'm not complaining, but they're kind of weird that they're here in the first place. But nonetheless, I would have to say, compared to the abysmal last game we had, WWE 2K20, oh my God, that was just a dumpster fire. This one, fortunately, looks a lot better. It plays a lot better. They have a much more stable game engine because of the time they took to actually make this product instead of pumping it out. It really does show that, hey, game companies, hey, publishers, give your game companies enough time to take their time and make the game right. Because if you make a good game, you sell more copies and you make more money instead of rushing out a trash dumpster fire and end up trying to pick up the pieces with multiple patches and going, oh, we're sorry, we didn't know. Yeah, but in the end, can I actually recommend WWE 2K22? If you're a fan of classic wrestling games of yore, like SmackDown, Shut Your Mouth, and all these other ones, but you didn't like the last game in the series, I can honestly say this one is such a drastic improvement. Everything from the controls, the speed of it, the addition of all the extra modes, a lot of detail was put into this, and it actually shows when you give a company enough time to actually focus on making a game, they can make a much better game. The only thing I said I have a problem with is the fact of this different versions of the game that you have to pay extra for to play the game a couple days early. I've never been a fan of that, but I've never had a problem with like DLC characters as long as they're not on the game disc. But in the end, that I digress. But like I said, I can recommend if you were a fan of the WWE 2K series, and not last year's one, the last one they had out, but the previous ones, this one is actually a lot better, and I can actually recommend it. The roster is great. The sheer amount of different modes that you can do in this, the sheer amount of creative player options, the cross-play features they have, and everything else does make it worth it this time. So I can actually say, go out and pick up a copy and play it today. This was Nate, aka Devil Dog, and I want to thank each and every one of you for watching these videos. Please give me a thumbs up if you like this video. Subscribe to my channel. It helps out a lot. Leave lots of comments so I can answer each and every single one of them below. And remember, I always end my videos by saying, have fun, play hard, and remember, people, woo, the devil is in the details. Peace out, y'all.